Recent job center development has exposed a problem in Coos Bay. We have no higher education. Fortunately, a wealthy landowner is planning to dedicate a huge swath of land in the Goblin Shoe to a new university in University Town, which is going to make them even wealthier. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's get this build started. Welcome back to Coos Bay, everybody. I first want to say thank you so much for 400 subscribers. It's been a ton of fun making these videos. The other thing I want to say is that I have some merch dropping, so if you guys want to check that out, there will be a link down in the description. We'll talk about that a little more later. So in this episode, I really want to think about what problems the city is having, and one of the biggest issues we're having is that we still don't have any higher education. And for a city of this size in this game with its mechanics, that's kind of a bit of a problem. So what I want to do is let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit on one of our education centers. If we come over to this Netherlands college, you're going to see it's completely full. So we really need the capacity. This is a serious problem in the city right now. So I'm going to come over to the Goblin Shoe and we're going to redevelop it into a new land grant university. We're going to take part of this area and we're going to turn it into a college town, and then we'll take the rest of it and pretend that a single landowner decided to donate a bunch of land so that we could develop a really beautiful university campus. We're also going to develop a new interchange here. I'm going to end up using a diverging diamond, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and I think you guys are going to like how it turns out. The first step in this build is going to be clearing out these farms in the middle of the Goblin Shoe. This is going to be a little bit bittersweet because I really enjoyed this build, but it's about time for it to go, and it's time for us to build something even better in its place. Now that we're done clearing out this area, it's time for us to lay our arterial out through the area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at this intersection right here. I'm going to place down a 4-lane non-divided highway. I'm going to bring it all the way down through town, cut it through the college campus like this. I'll connect it up here, and then I'm going to convert this entire road to a 4-lane road because I imagine it's going to get a lot of traffic. It's already been getting a fair amount, but now that we're adding this connection, it's only going to get worse. So I want to make sure that everybody using that road, whether it be to go from that town to the college or from that town out of town, I want to make sure that they have a very fast trip out. I ended up deciding to go with a 4-lane divided highway here. I decided that that gave us a little bit better future proofing for this area. And, we still have a few at-grade crossings here, so it's really not all that unrealistic. You'll see basically all through the rural area we have these at-grade crossings. I think that this is a better fit for now, and it'll give us some, advanced preparation. So what I want to do next is I want to create a land bridge over this area right here. Think of it as like a wildlife overpass. I want to create a very large tunnel here, and I'm going to cover the entire highway in dirt. So that way this side and this side of the college town feel like they're connected and people can walk and ride their bikes from one side to the other. I think this is going to give this area a really nice, unique feel, and I think that it's going to make it feel a lot more realistic as a college town and make it a much more desirable place to go to school. Now that we're done with this wildlife overpass type area, I am ready to draw out our arterial or collector or whatever we want to call it. I'm going to draw this main road through this area. It's going to be a coupled one lane, one-way road going in each direction. I'll leave a cell or two of space between them, and I think that'll make this place more unique. This is going to be our main road into campus, and I think it turned out really nicely. We've got big sidewalks, bike lanes, we've got some grass medians. I think the entire thing looks really great. I think it looks really pretty. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start laying out our roads and paths through this area. I want to focus on this mostly being centered around a few primary assets. Those assets are going to be the modern community college, which I think is just a really beautiful asset, and it also it really helps show me what this game could be. Both the modern community college and the modern university with these individual buildings that can be plopped outside. I'm really excited to see what asset creators do with this mechanic. And I think that this is just really, these are the two buildings that I want to use the most. So we're going to go ahead and try and lay out our walking paths and try and get this entire area structured so that these buildings are the centerpiece. I'm sure I'll end up plopping some of them too during my time lapse. I've also realized that we really need to purchase these tiles to do what we want to do here, so I'm going to go ahead and buy up these 3 tiles right here. This should be enough for now. I'm really pleased with the way that this turned out. I think it looks nice. We're going to have to do some detailing here, but everything is connected up, so everything is functional here and it should be working properly. Okay, now that that's all fixed up, I want to start thinking about adding some actual housing in this area. So if we take a look at our population, oh, right now our unemployment rate is actually higher than I thought. And that's probably because of these education facilities. I've noticed in some of my other builds and another project that I'm working on right now that when you add education facilities, it tends to bump up your unemployment rate, which is an interesting thing to happen. It seems like it's not calculating unemployment, at least the way that I would in the United States. Here, people that are not looking for a job don't count towards the unemployment rate, but apparently these people do. So I'm going to place some housing around this quad here. I'm going to use the French low rent housing assets. These dorms don't have any people in them, and that feels really unrealistic to me, so I want to make this area a little bit more active. I'm going to start by extending some of these paths, and then I'll add the French low rent housing assets. I am really a fan of the way that these buildings look. I think that these French low rent housing assets are really good for university dorms. They kind of look like, freshman dorms, not as nice. We'll need to add some foliage and paths into the middle of this, but overall, I'm really pleased with the way it's turning out. One of the things that we really need here is some bike parking. I'm going to place down one of the large bike parking garages. Let's see. This one right here. And then I'm going to add all of the upgrades to it because I want to make sure that we have as much capacity as possible. I'm sure that college students are going to want to bike here. Right now, this is not a great location for biking. You'll see over here, it's just connected up to some country roads, but we will add some bike infrastructure later in this episode. Next, I want to select the asset we're going to place into this block right here. The asset I want to use is a technical university, so we're going to need to unlock it. There we go. And it is the Modern Technical University. So we kind of don't have the money for it. It's a good fit here. I really like it. So for those of you that have been around a while, you're not going to be surprised by what's coming next. I think we're going to have to take out a little bit of a loan. Perfect. Yay, I love exploding local debt. Perfect. Love the way that this turned out. I think that it looks pretty nice. And add a bunch of upgrades. Wait a minute. No. No. So I decided that I actually don't want to place this with all the upgrades. I think that we can add those upgrades as we expand out in this direction. But for the time being, these upgrades don't make sense. We have some of these buildings that we can place away from the building, which we may use at some point. This lecture hall especially is a particularly interesting asset that I'm excited to use. But for the time being, you know what? Let's use it right here. I like it. Yeah, I could add this extension wing, this plaza. I don't really want to. I want to leave it as it is for now. Like I said, I think it'll be better for us to expand as we get there. The next build that I want to put into this area is something that really isn't in the game yet, something that there aren't even really any custom assets for. That's an American football stadium. The only assets for American football are really like these small high school level assets, and I want something a little bit bigger. I'm imagining that a wealthy donor donated a bunch of money to the school so that they could build a really nice football stadium, a very nice new football stadium. I decided that in this area, this flat pad and this at-grade crossing really made the most sense. Right now, this is not a very developed up area. I think that it makes a lot of sense. If we end up building up the stadium more in the future, I think that it'll make a lot more sense to add a true interchange here. But for the time being, with nothing else out here, an at-grade intersection makes the most sense. So when we're looking at the asset that we're going to use here, we have a couple options. First, we have this sports field from the Modern Community College, although when I look at it, that's not an American football field, so I don't think we're going to be able to use that one. Maybe we'll use it over here and add it as some kind of practice field for the other sports, but I don't want to use that one over here. So we're going to end up having to go and use the Vanilla Park and make some adjustments to it. So we're going to have to unlock that, and I will find that asset. This is the asset that I want to use right here. I think it's a little bit small, even for a small college. So we'll end up deconstructing it and reconstructing it in a way that makes a little bit more sense, but we can plop it right here. Yeah, like I said, looks a little bit small for a build like this, so I'm going to deconstruct it and remove everything. Yeah, I think that we can work with this. This should work. I am going to go ahead and try and connect up all the roads here, and then we will come back to it. I think this gives us a really interesting layout. We've got the highway right behind it, which isn't great, but overall, I'm really pleased with it. We'll leave this end of the stadium open, which is going to give us a really nice view of ships running through the bay. I may even leave this end open too, so that way you have a view of the college. We'll see where we end up going with that. Now we need to pick out the assets that we're going to use as stands in this area, so I'm going to go ahead and select those, and I will come back to you. So I'm going to use these stands right here. They're a little bit large, but I think that they make sense. Although I'm going to have to relocate a few things here, but I'll plop them down and we'll see how it looks, and then we can make our adjustments. Okay, I had to remove pretty much every sub element, but I think we're finally ready to actually plop down all of the stands. You'll see I decided to go with green stands here, and I think that this works well with the theme that I'm going to go with. I have to wait until I have permission to talk about it a little bit more, but I do want to darken these just a little bit. I think that stands this light would fade really quickly anyways, so I'm going to try and dull them down a little bit. Yeah, that looks much better, so I'm going to go ahead and change all of them. I'm really pleased with the way that the stadium is turning out. I think it looks nice. Like I mentioned, I need some permission to place the logo that I want in the middle of the field, so I'm going to have to come back to you all in a little bit. But overall, I think that this looks great. Definitely pleased with the way that it's turning out. This is a relatively small stadium, but this is also a relatively small school. If we look at the total population, I guess it could be as much as 30,000. That feels a little bit ridiculous. This doesn't feel like a 30,000 person school. Nonetheless, I'm pretty pleased with the way that things are looking. Our unemployment rate is still relatively high. So, as I said, that's happening because of the universities. So keep that in mind when you place those down. It's going to at least temporarily increase your unemployment rate. I also added these entrances here. On one side, I have the gates all set up, and on the other, I don't. This street, I assume, would be shut down during game day. So, I just wanted to make this entire area tie together a little bit better. Now, I'm really pleased with the way that this build is turning out. I think it looks really nice. Still waiting on permission for the logo, but we'll get to that eventually, I'm sure. Yeah, it just looks great. Although, what are these doing out here? No, this is not a practice field. Okay, there we go. I am so pleased with the way that it looks. I was a little bit worried about this build, so I'm glad it turned out. We can use this for soccer and for football. And now it's time for us to go ahead and place down some practice fields. So, I had said before that I wanted to use this community college asset, so here it is. This one right here makes for a good practice field. It's got a soccer pitch, some tracks, it's got some stands too, so we've already got a flat pad here, so we can go ahead and plop it down. Perfect. And then I'm going to connect this using a pedestrian path to the main pedestrian path that goes all the way down to the football field. I'm really pleased with the way that this build is coming along. I have had to keep the rain on a lot. Fields like this one right here, if you reproduce this from one of my episodes, these rows of bushes, first of all, they create lag. Second of all, they create lots of fires. So I've got all these issues with buildings burning down out here, and it's just really a nightmare. If you have time and weather anarchy, you're better off leaving a little bit of rain on if you're not recording, which of course, the rain impacts your performance too. Okay, so now I am ready to start detailing up this area. I'm going to lay down a bunch of paths. Oh, wow, these are really not filling up very much. But anyways, we're going to lay down some paths throughout this area, especially in these quad areas. I'm going to try and have some geometric patterns and stuff to try and make it feel a little bit more like a campus, feel a little bit more interesting. I'm also going to place down a bunch of trees in the area surrounding the campus, especially out by the stadiums. I'm really excited to see how this kind of fills in. I feel that the foliage and the way that we place it is a really important thing, both for the stadium and for the campus generally. I think it'll make it feel a lot more realistic. I'm really pleased with the way that this build is coming along. I'm obviously not quite done with it yet. This area still needs some detailing, but for the time being, I'm ready to move on to the next step in the process. I want to build an interchange here. I really want to make sure that this road can extend all the way up to here and we can get access to this area for future development in the city. And then I also want to make sure that these two highways connect well. So we're going to create kind of a hybrid between a stack interchange and a cloverleaf interchange. Very much a custom interchange, and I'm going to try and add the easiest connections first. Our interchange is just about done. I'm sure I'm going to end up fidgeting with Move It a little bit, but I am really pleased with the way that this turned out. I think that it's a really good solution for this particular area. We really didn't have a ton of space over by the university that had already been developed, and on the other side, we just had so much space. So I feel that this was a really good fit for this area. While I was fidgeting, I realized that this bike was just absolutely inundated with bike traffic, and I really want to give this another look because this has been a consistent problem since I built it. So what I'm going to do, instead of having it connect up right here alone, I'm going to bring it along to connect up in this area right here. So I'll bring it up over this way, connect it here, and then I'll bring it over this way, around here, and then I'll connect it up right here at this park. Okay, so I added a couple of these roundabouts. Hopefully these will help to improve the flow through the area. I'm not sure. I really don't know how to fix this. I'm really looking forward to the moment when Road Builder has the ability to actually edit these bike paths. I did try that and it doesn't work. But I think that it would be really nice if I could create proper bike interchanges when necessary and widen these roads out a little bit. But for the time being, this is about the best I can do. It does seem like a queuing problem, so hopefully in the near future we'll be able to make those modifications to our bike paths. The next interchange I want to work on is this one right here. I'm going to try and turn this into a diverging diamond interchange. I've never done one of these before. I've never even driven on one, so this is probably going to be a complete and total disaster, but let me know what you guys end up thinking out of it. Okay, I am really pleased with the way that this turned out. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. As you can see, we have all of our movements here, and I think that that makes this just a wonderful functional interchange. And our most important movements are connected well, so hopefully this will be effective for reducing traffic. I've decided to name the university here Mullins University. If we go and look at one of the families in the Goblin Shoe that I haven't forced out yet, it's the Mullins family. So I'm going to pretend that they are a wealthy family that donated a bunch of money towards the university development and also donated a bunch of land for its development. Editor Baldy here. I got permission to use the logo that I wanted for the field, and I ended up using Right Everywhere to get it on there. And I want you to guess how long it took for me to figure out how to get the logo on there. Go ahead, guess. It took me damn near an hour to get it on there. So thank you so much to Chaos Fun 87. His video was absolutely indispensable in that process. So the logo that I ended up using for the stadium is this one from one of our viewers, Wobblin Goblin. We are going to name the football team here the Wobblin Goblins, both kind of a, homage to the original name of the area, the Goblin Shoe, and to Wobblin Goblin, who has been very supportive of the channel. So I just want to give him a shout out. He has a channel where he talks about aviation in the PNW. He's from the region. So yeah, just very cool to highlight a member of the community like that. The next bit of development that I want to do here in the Goblin Shoe is I want to start developing a college town. We really don't have any real housing, not any significant housing in this area. So what I want to do is clear out these couple of farms, and I will lay down a primary road through the area. Okay, so I had a little bit of time that I had to wait for it to rain, so I ended up coming back to the stadium to add a little text plate here. Again, Chaos Fun 87's video, absolutely indispensable. I ended up deciding to spell a little bit differently than Wobblin Goblin, but you get the idea. So now I can get started on the town development. now that we're done with our road layout through this area, I'm ready for us to start laying down our actual buildings. So these first few blocks here, I'm going to have mostly storefronts, shops, mixed-use housing, bars. The second row of blocks, I'll have some smaller multifamily units. And then as we get further out, I'm going to plop down some more single-family and duplex-style homes. There are a few more things I want to do in this development before we call it an episode. One of the big things here is that we've developed a lot of bike infrastructure here, but it really doesn't have any connectivity to any of the other areas of town. So I'm going to try and connect a bike highway from here all the way up along the road here to connect up at this area here in town. I'm also going to take one from over here, bring it along this road over this highway point right here, and then I'll connect it up with this bike highway here. It's already very busy, but honestly, there isn't too much we can do about it with the tools at our disposal right now. There's another thing that I've realized I wanted to do out by the university, which is I wanted to take a couple of these modular zoning blocks and place down some low rent housing in this area. I feel that these dorms should have people in them, and right now nobody's living there. So we can take some of these 4x1 modular zoning blocks, and I'm going to place 2 of these inside of each dorm. Hopefully that's not too unrealistic. Let me know if you guys think that I went a little overboard on this in the comments. Now I want to take a little bit of time to let the simulation settle out. I added a bunch of these households here, and we have not filled any more than half of them, really. So this area needs to rest for a little bit. While we wait for that to happen, I want to add one more bit of bike infrastructure along this highway here. I want to be able to connect Fish Bay up to some of the older towns in the region. We have a ton of bike traffic still in the region, especially down here on this route, and that tells me that we need an alternative path. So hopefully this will help to relieve some of that just ridiculous traffic through that area. Okay, we are just about done with this build, so now it is time for us to do a little bit of community feedback. Time to name some districts. So there are a couple of names that I want to take advantage of here. The first one I want to use is Coos Bay as a name for Fish Bay. This was suggested by Posh82886. Great suggestion, way to, kind of work off of the terrible name that I gave it and turn it into something that's actually pretty cool. Coos Bay. So the next suggestion I want to use is one that was provided by Wobblin Goblin. He suggested Roosevelt, and I'm going to use that to name this area right here. Okay, so the next name I want to use is a combination of suggestions from nsoto33 and Wobblin Goblin. nsoto33 suggested the Heights, and Wobblin Goblin suggested that we include Cascade, like the Cascade Mountain Range. So we are going to combine those into Cascade Heights. And then we are also going to use from Dalton Bedore 8396 Evergreen Terraces. Awesome. I also want to use another naming suggestion from nsoto33. They suggested Marble District. I'm going to name this district right here Marble Shores. One person that I kind of wanted to shout out because I removed the name and now I'm kind of using it again, but it's not super visible, is Alux Tube. They suggested the Goblin Shoe name for this region, so obviously this kind of played into the naming of both the team and the stadium, the shoe. A bit of a ripoff from Ohio State, but also referring to the Goblin Shoe for the district that looks an awful lot like a Goblin Shoe. Just to finish the naming in these districts up here, I'm also going to take Forest Highlands and Walnut Canyon from Dalton Bedore 8396. Thank you again for all your suggestions, everybody. If you don't see your suggestions show up in this video, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to use them. It just means that I have an idea of what I'm going to use them on in the future. So there's one last thing that I want to add here, and I want to add some surfaces to these roads. I feel like they're a little bit plain, and I really just don't feel like it's finished. It feels too open. So I'm going to add some brick surfaces, add some trees and planters, and make this area feel a little bit more complete. I think that this looks really nice. It looks just so much better than it did at first, and I'm really pleased with the way that it turned out. Even down to street view, I think this makes it feel much more like a college campus, and I think that this ties the entire area together. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. Again, I really appreciate all of the suggestions that everybody gives, and if you see a district that I named myself, I'm almost certainly not attached to that name, and I am open to whatever suggestions you have. So be sure to let me know down in the comments. I also want to announce that I am opening a merch store, so now I will have a hoodie. I have a Coos Bay hoodie with the Baldy Build Cities logo on the front, the Coos Bay logo on the back. Very excited. I've been wearing it around and it is really nice. It hasn't shrunk and the material is not peeling off, so the logos seem to be pretty sturdy. I've also added a couple of stickers too. I know the hoodie's a little bit expensive, so I'm not quite that delusional. Again, I really appreciate all your guys' support. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the notification bell so that you get notified when my next video comes up. Thank you guys again for watching till the end, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.